Good morning, Vish, the CEO and founder, Innovation and Ventures. Raj Shukla, a good friend, colleague, and a huge professional regarding CEOs here, dynamic leaders in industry, vibrant entrepreneurs, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a privilege speaking today on an area which is huge in terms of both technology and innovation. Let me start by saying, pulling some leaves from what General Raj Shukla said. Today, we are a resurgent India on the move. We are the India which was the Sone ki Chidiya, golden India of yesteryears. And we have embarked on a three-pronged strategy. The first is Atmanirbhar Bharat, which actually encapsulates technology and innovation-based self-reliance. We have to get into research, design, and development to get into the second front, which is Make in India, if not Made in India, where we look at the Industry 4.0. We look at the digital dividends of our demographic dividend that we have as a nation. The only nation in the world with 1.4 billion population to have this dividend. And therefore, Skill India and many such programs today are all focused towards this second front. And the third front is Startup India, which actually is giving the flavor of entrepreneurship in the nation, which I'm sure in times to come will become synonymous with what General Raj Shukla said, the startup nation Israel. And I'm very happy to see a large number of presence today of entrepreneurs and startups who actually want to make the difference. Now, today in India, we have about 108 unicorns developed just in about 4 to 5 who are 4 years away from the unicorn status. So that is the kind of euphoria that our nation has today, given the ecosystem which is developing. And why I say this is because today when we talk of China, we talk of United States, remember there's something called a timeline. A book called 100-Year Marathon by Michael Pittsburgh of US tells you that China started this journey way back in 1949. It is not by default, it is by design. It's not an accident. Today, what you see started almost a century before. And therefore, I think it's never too late to embark on these journeys. And we are there. That gets me to two watchwords which are core areas, which are pivotal when we look at a digital world: precision and positioning. And two application areas related to this: automation and autonomy. So these are the four buzzwords: precision, positioning, automation, autonomy. And that gets me to another pillar. The new tech world order is defined by 4 Ds: data, digitization, digitalization, and disruption. And all of these coming together has actually created the mega digital transformation, which is again a journey. It's not a destination. It's a huge journey. And when we look at digital India as footprint, Indian footprint globally, I think we have created the mark. We are perhaps the only nation which has had e-governance in place at a very short time. And please don't go by technology alone, go also by the impact of this impulse function of doing everything in a very short time. When COVID happened, India was among the first few to get off the starter blocks to give to the world a vaccine. So that is our capability, given our resilience of the three fronts that I just spoke about. Now coming to digital India, which directly impacts the cyberspace, There is a huge civil military fusion happening here. The digital world is where you find no distinction between civil and military. Actually, it is all a dual use, and which therefore is a challenge in one way and a huge, huge opportunity in another. It will be interesting to note that in our own country with 1.42 billion population, we have about 1.9 billion digital devices. We have 692 million today internet users, about 480 million social media enthusiasts. So that is the India which is emerging. That is the digital space that we are looking at. We are amongst the first nations globally to have a digital public infrastructure worth the name, duly implemented, which is guiding our life. In fact, today, reliance of a person from village is as much as it is from a town on the digital ecosystem. You look at UPI systems, you look at Ayushman Bharat systems, you look at e-governance systems, you look at digital land records, you look at banks, you look at payment gateways, they're all there right from Bharat to India, from the village right into India. And therefore, if this is the landscape, it needs huge amount of security. And that gets me to the importance of cyber. We have the National Mission on Interdisciplinary Cyber Physical Systems. And today, just before coming here, I was actually addressing a Technology Innovation Hub seminar on precision and positioning, which is the spearhead given to IIT Tirupati. And we talked of the industrial transformation which is happening. Today, industrial automation is giving rise to industrial autonomy. General Raj Shukla spoke of the Ukraine war, where there's a man-machine fight. An autonomous system in the form of Bakhtiar is actually knocking off tanks. It's knocking off gun positions. So that is a new landscape that is emerging. Autonomy, lethal autonomous weapon systems. And then you've got the GIS-based precision and positioning systems. And that's yet another challenge of position, navigation, and timing. That's another challenge from a cyber point of view. You could actually dislocate people in terms of time and space by showing them at a wrong place. Images, videos, and their proliferation. Another space which is a cyber opportunity, a cyber challenge at the same time. Anil Kapoor speaking today could be shown as Raj Shukla speaking and vice versa, just on a click. E-assets. Today, everything is an e-asset. Imagine what happened in AIMS. All your e-asset data was actually encrypted by ransomware, and they were charging money to decrypt it. That is the level of cyber attacks that has happened in the recent past. Today, the new emergences of a multi-platform, multi-sensor data fusion system. I'll say again, multi-platform, multi-sensor data fusion system. That is where the future is today. There is no one platform, but all agnostic platforms are being given a seamless continuity. All sensors are being given a continuity through networks. And data fusion is giving you a single source of truth. It is giving you a common operating picture. It is giving you real-time situational awareness. Now imagine if this was not secure, the kind of impact it has on life. And we've seen a large number of cyber attack cases, and I'll refer to them a little later. When we look at defense in a similar landscape of multi-platform, multi-sensor data fusion, we're looking at C7 ISR. command, control, computers, cyber, cognition, combat, intelligence and information, surveillance and security, and reconnaissance. So that is the new landscape when we look at a futuristic scenario. And that is what is going to get us into a lethal autonomous weapon platform system. Today, weapons are not just mechanical electronic systems. They are information systems. A weapon platform is an information system. And you could actually play merry hell into the system by getting into it to force it to fire at a wrong time or not fire at the right time. Those kind of controls in autonomous systems are possible. And therefore, that gets me to technology and innovation, the last pillar, with special reference to cyber. Now, when we look at a cyberspace, there is no peace, there is no war. Actually, it is an all-time war. The cyber warrior is an invisible warrior. He could be sitting in a park, he could be sitting in a drawing room, he could be sitting anywhere with a mobile device, with a digital device, and carrying out merry hell in nations, merry hell in the banking systems, merry hell in the medical healthcare systems, merry hell in airlines, merry hell everywhere. You would all recall that even a country like US had a 1-week showdown in Dallas where they could not run flights because of ransomware and a cyber attack. Given the kind of resilience and technology that they have, even they were not spared of this. And the reason is that today, digital space is dynamic. It's a journey. It's not done and dusted ever. It's an ongoing operation. And if we do not realize the dynamism of the digital world, we would be failing time and again. And therefore, my message to young entrepreneurs is, you have embarked on this journey. You have to understand the challenges in this journey. The cyber journey is huge. It's a huge, huge space. Now, the first thing is, as cyber experts, you have to get into the nuts and bolts, which your Raj Shukla said. You have to actually sit down with all these subject matter experts, be it defense, be it industry, because it is required everywhere. Today, when we talk of industrial autonomy, or we talk of C7 ISR, or we talk of multi-platform, multi-sensor data fusion systems, I think you have to sit down with them to carry out an honest risk assessment. Identify critical assets, which are those, and provide what we call a defense in depth based on threat analysis. So it is the digital space is a new warfare, which is as much happening at a zero moment. That's why it's called a zero moment attack. And therefore, as cyber experts, as digital experts, it's a huge, huge challenge. You have to look at data at rest. You have to look at data in motion. You have to look at network security. You have to look at software security. You have to look at system security. And therefore, security has to be built in at every level, right from design to development to production. You have to have layers of defense, layers of cyber defense. You have to have a dynamic system of patches, and therefore these are your opportunities. Your opportunities are to make the nation cyberspace. A digital India is one of the most vulnerable pieces globally if we are not cyberspace. We have to have mechanisms to detect and respond. Imagine sometimes detection doesn't happen till you actually feel that you've been hit, and that you get to know very late. I will encourage you all to read a report called Shadows in the Cloud. where a Chinese hacker sitting in Canada hacked critical infrastructure in United Nations, in India, including our defense installations, and created merry hell and produced this PhD report called Shadows in the Cloud in 2010, a decade back. We have advanced a decade ahead. Imagine the threats. Imagine what you are going to get, and imagine, therefore, not only the challenges, imagine the opportunities. Chinese created an aircraft by getting into the soft belly and sneaking out designs from tier 2 and tier 3 industries of F-35. And therefore, it is not only looking at the critical assets, it's looking at it holistically. Today, when we are getting into Atmanirbharta, when we're getting into niche technologies, I think cyber is like electricity. It has to be there. It's like being in every room. I mean, you can't imagine today a room without electricity, an asset without electricity, an infrastructure without electricity. It is that benign that today, the moment you enter a room, you say, where's the switch? Let me switch it on. Cyber is that electricity which we're going to look at in every walk of life. And therefore, this journey has just begun. When we look at, whether we look at IT, whether we look at OT, whether we look at industrial cyber, whether we look at information system cyber, I think we have to look at industrial control systems, whether it is DCS or SCADA, programmable logic controllers. We have to look at IoT, we have to look at human-machine interfaces. And imagine wherever there's a human being, General Raj Shukla referred to honey traps and all this. I think you need to create mechanisms to be safe, cyber safe, even if there's a human intent. And that is where the bigger challenge lies. And therefore, today, we are getting a detection and response based on artificial intelligence and machine learning. It has gone into that realm. With OpenAI and GPT-3 and ChatGPT, whatever we are hearing, that's a new, if I may say, opportunity and a new threat which is emerging. We need to have machine learning based detect and response systems. So today, the whole world is researching towards autonomous cyber safe systems based on machine learning. How do you detect and how you do respond? And therefore, defense in depth becomes very important. In the same vein, I will say today, there's a huge, huge shortage of cyber experts in the country and even globally. I think you've embarked on the right journey. Because if you're not a subject matter expert, you are on the fringes. That will not work. Today, you have to be a hardcore ethical hacker to be a good cyber expert. You have to understand the nuances of cyber warfare. So therefore, that is the landscape and that is the opportunity. And as cyber experts, I think with IDEX, there's a huge opportunity to not only customize solution for defense, also go beyond it. The challenges that have been put in front of you are actually the tip of the iceberg, if I may say. Much more exists in the iceberg, and therefore it's just a beginning. So, what should I advise young entrepreneurs who are here and going to work in areas of cyber? First is start with the end in mind. Be first, be different. We talked of General Raj Shukla talked of Bakhtiar. They were first and were different. Whether it was Armenia, Azerbaijan, and whether it is Ukraine, Russia, that is a common denominator. So let your cyber systems become the common denominator. Think big, act transformational. In digital world, we have to act transformational. And remember, sometimes very small ideas have a very big impact. And true to Agile and Scrum, fail fast, recover faster. You will fail. It is a given, but please recover faster. Remember that. And Also remember that if data is the new oil we are playing around with, technology is the new oil refinery. And this coin, where technology is one side and data the other, you are the one who will toss it as entrepreneurs. And how well you toss it will define the head and the tail in times to come. To conclude, I'll remind you of reading this book, The 100-Year Marathon by Michael Phelps. It'll tell you the Chinese story. It'll tell you the human resource aspect of a nation is just not technology alone. It's actually a ESG, environment, society, and governance document. So you have to look at the complete continuum as an entrepreneur. You have to look at the ESG of your technology and of your business model for continuity. And if we gave the world the number 0, let us now give the digital world the number 1 in cyber. And with that, I wish you the best. And I'm sure in times to come, through IDEX and other institutions on incubation and innovation, we will continue to embark on the resurgent journey of New India